Parkinson's is tragically making it harder for me to type. And I'm in a situation where I'm just beginning my dissertation, so that complicates things for me. As a result, when it is serviceable, I try to use talk videos to explain my point. First time I heard the word Fight Club, the expression Fight Club, or knew what one was when I moved to Tacoma and the sheriff brought it up in a public discussion. I know enough, however, about Seattle and Tacoma by now, having been here for a while, to know that the idea of torturing somebody and laughing about it is absolutely irresistible to them. Now, there's something known as a notch baby in Pennsylvania as a result of legislation that um, began March 1st and ended February 28th. It didn't include leap year. And the people born on the 29th of February were out of luck. They were called notch babies. They got together on the Gateway Clipper every once in a while for an annual party. And the legal system has been complicit in creating a notch baby out of me. The fact that the civil services like the AA have bonded with the clubhouse movement to engage in extremely brutal acts of gaslighting under normal circumstances would bring in the federal government, the police, it would bring in the deaf community, it would bring in Amnesty International, the UN, it would bring in school administration, it would bring in the health services, it would bring in just about anybody who had any sense at all because of what a grave and dramatic threat organized crime of that degree of criminal insanity, the idea of using a recovery system to ban intellectual dissent, falsely accuse somebody, poison and torture them, and deride them as their own worst enemy is something that can only be described as a sort of notch baby undertaken by a Hezbollah or a party of God. The Washington State Bar Association, the Pennsylvania State Bar Association, the Federal Bureau of Investigation have all been advised that this was going on, that particularly brutal gaslighting surrounds what they use as a cover story, which is sexual research, put on by Jeffen Corporation's alliance with Cyril Wecht and Martin Edelman. He was one of the most notorious fellows in my public high school. He was always lying. He was always making up tall stories. And he had an aptitude for moving money that rivaled Donald Trump. He was involved in a takeover of Wells Fargo. He set the whole thing up, and they made sure that I couldn't understand what was happening by keeping me deaf and not teaching me sign language. They used Jeff and Media to promote their cover story, and they were caught red-handed as museum thieves, $1 million museum thieves behind a reckless driving incident in which I was blamed, even though I quit the job over the incident as a furious passenger. They made Venus flytrap porno of me and banned me from school when they knew that I would be able to succeed at school. And they worked with Paul McCartney and the hip hop generation because they found out that the neuroplasm they knew I didn't know about was working, which meant they had charted a profile of me as an injured person to make it fun of me by poaching me through the implications of the neurotrauma. So they came on to me with a gorgeous attack prostitute who bonded with me through the civil services that I'm acquainted with, these murderers continue to deride me as their fan because they know that I was loyal to them and was developing friendships based on my peer like admiration for their arts and analysis of their arts. And they sat on their throne saying that that was their due rather than showing me any appreciation. But I thought this girl really liked me, and that was their wedge. And they started playing off these horrible stories of making off with my girlfriend. They attacked and raped my deaf girlfriend, and they were pummeling the subconscious mind. They still do it with pornographic narratives to make me imply that I should suffer for what I lost. That must hurt, they say. They took me away from a home where I had at least a lovely friend who knew sign language, and I haven't been able to see her for 30 years. And they go, that must hurt, man. And Tony Levin's vicious idea of sharing illness and building an orgy of mentality as a tonic, he says, comes from Gurdjieff. Well, let me tell you who Gurdjieff was. He went deliberately to Paris during the occupation to help the Gestapo torture people in the mysticism of the mysterious aspects of their souls. That's who this monster was that Tony Levin is extolling. He's a spitting image from the past for what Tony Levin is now. And because he plays music, these people grovel at his feet and call themselves social services.